Comrades, welcome to the Quamfy Show, episode 17. Today we have Don on the show. Don, welcome.
Thank you for having me on, gents. Looking forward to the conversation today. It's gonna be a great one.
So do we. And Don is part of the DAO, as you have seen in the title. We're gonna have a chat on the DAO. What is a DAO, and who are in the DAO, the admin, staff members, whatever you want to call it. Gonna have a look at the goals, the agenda, some other stuff that comes to the table. Probably I'm gonna have a little look at the Luna situation, maybe. Don is quite knowledgeable, and we spoke pre-episode as we always do with our guests, and I'm really pumped. So we're gonna see where this is gonna take us. And Tim is also back. Tim,
I'm here. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be back. I just had a weird, rough week. So yeah, it was kind of emotional, but also we weren't recording because of technical failure at Jarno's side. He was recording on his own, and then for some reason his mic didn't work. So he made an entire episode. Yeah,
I found a culprit. Yeah, I have like this desktop here, and I have USB ports on the top. Yeah. And after my Tesla holiday from a couple of weeks back, I switched around with my USBs, but those USB ports on the top, they're open all the time. So dust collected in one of those. Yeah. And usually my thumb drive that connects to my headset was on the left of the two ports. Now I put it on the right, and that thing is just was so clogged up with dust that just on the random, it sometimes just stopped, and that also coincided with me moving my mic. It was really weird. But yeah, since I didn't get any audio feedback from you guys, I wasn't even aware of the problem, and I was just flicking my mic up and down as I always do, and then sometimes it engaged again and sometimes it didn't. It's in the failed episode, whatever thingies, only on YouTube. We didn't put it on the podcast platforms because it was simply an embarrassing display of preparation. So yeah, sorry for interrupting, Tim.
Yeah, but we tried to at least, and we also had a miscommunication last week, so it was kind of a weird week, and it actually felt great not recording, just being off Telegram, off the socials for a bit. It's always nice. Obviously, we are hyper engaged with everything in QNT, and that's good because you know what you're investing in. But sometimes it's really good for your peace of mind to just not be as engaged.
Step back. Yeah.
To take a step back. Yeah, that was lovely. So yeah, I'm all good. A new week, new period. I feel fresh, and let's just continue the show. And how are you, Jarno?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. Not much to complain about. I'm, as always, hyper bullish on Quant. I think the fact that they missed the deadline yesterday, it's not a deadline. They said it would go for bi-weekly updates. Last week they missed it.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure if they missed it or that they did run an update because they have done it in the past and then they didn't communicate it until later because last Thursday was also holiday, wasn't it? Because I was getting hammered and whatnot. So, but the fact that they missed it is actually, in my eyes, also bullish because everything is bullish in my eyes. Means that they're probably putting a lot of effort in bigger things that just aren't ready. I can twist it to the bull side always. I'm not a trader. I don't care. I can be bullish for however much and long as I want.
Well, I think that that really comes with having a longer time frame as well. Understanding the real value proposition behind Quant, just allows you to not really worry so much about the day-to-day price fluctuations. Understanding just how much the world is and the financial system is really set to change in the coming years. It provides for some very exciting long-term outlooks, I think, for QNT holders. The macro backdrop, right now, at least from what I see, because I come from more of a traditional finance background, having worked with a number of large investment banks and private equity firms, you know, working in valuation, in just economic evaluation, you know, has given me a passing understanding of, you know, what's going on in macro. And, you know, what I'm seeing, you know, coming down the pike is just the consequences of massive tightening by central banks all over the world, specifically, you know, the Fed in the US, and what that has already meant for stocks and for bonds over the past year. You know, I think is going to be set to continue just as the Fed continues to take money out of the system via quantitative tightening. That can, I think, create an environment where risk on assets just get absolutely eviscerated, at least in the short term. What that means, you know, for quant, I have a phrase, you know, there's no such thing as dips, only discounts. And, you know, I think that what's happening now in terms of deleveraging, in terms of, you know, what's going on with risk assets, we're really separating the wheat from the chaff. You know, there are a lot of like zombie companies that are out there that have taken on a ton of debt, and probably will not survive this quantitative tightening / economic cycle, at least in my mind. And, you know, the longer companies like that survive, you know, the more resources they kind of take in the broader market from participants that might be a little bit more savvy, or you know, might be solving problems in a better, more compelling way. And you know, I think in that kind of environment, quant has a number of advantages. You know, for one, I think that we're going to see utility-based demand provide a floor for the QNT price. You know, we're already seeing examples of you know, license payments and gateway payments. At least that's what we believe, based on I think it was Hungarian who did a lot of that analysis.
It's correct. Yeah, I was wondering if you're hinting at that, because you brought it with so much certainty in the first sentence that it actually made my tummy tingle. I was like, does he know more? No, but indeed, the Hungarian research is, in my eyes, already pretty conclusive. It's
well, yeah. I mean, there's a ton of institutional interest, at least from Coinbase's perspective. And you know, the reason why I feel like I can say you know, what I've said with relative certainty is that, you know, the question becomes like, what explanation do you have for Coinbase, you know, holding on to that kind of supply that is the most simple and that makes the most sense. You know, it's kind of like Occam's razor. You very often, the simplest explanation for why something is happening, you know, is the true explanation. You know, I think that based on where we are developmentally, it makes sense for quant to partner with someone like a Coinbase, you know, just to handle custody for, you know, like license payments and whatnot. I'm not entirely sure to what extent, you know, these are license payments or gateway operations that are going on, you know, with enterprise clients. You know, we may or may not get that clarity, but you know, just something really interesting to think about, and that I think will provide a floor. You know, just that, and the value prop to enterprise and to institutions in general, I think are going to, especially with better, you know, engagement and you know, information out there about QNT, I think will make it a very attractive investment opportunity for companies that will eventually understand, like, oh, you know, if we want the benefits that come with ODAP gateways, then, you know, we're going to have to go with a gateway service provider. Quant is the first and currently best one. You know, so I think that that is going to contribute to really a K-shaped recovery in crypto, where tokens that have real utility, and I think a combination of utility and regulatory friendliness, those projects are going to see a market turnaround, whereas projects that don't have as much substance, that have primarily gotten through because of speculation, those are projects that are I think going to be in a lot more danger.
Yeah, you were talking about the zombie companies earlier, and that's obviously a thing in equity markets, been for a while. And yeah, there's no doubt that's probably gotten a lot worse. But can you imagine how many of crypto companies are zombie companies right now? I mean, if you look at CMC, I don't know how many companies or tokens are in there at this time, but it's an astounding number that have just popped out of the ground ever since even in the last year and a half. And if you see a company like Luna that actually appeared to be properly designed and legit and vetted, even my precious Coin Metro had Luna listed on their exchange, and I always vouch for Coin Metro, and because I know that they do their due diligence and they don't just partner with any entity. They always want some form of a partnership, some kind of cooperative agreement that helps both parties out. Same as they did with well, it doesn't really matter, but that always for me was when I was kind of bringing on new people, just go to Coin Metro because they vet everything. And Luna was freaking on there. Like, I mean, everybody that we probably know at some point owned or talked about Luna. I mean, why not? And if that can fail, dude, you need to fucking reevaluate everything. And by what standard? That's, I mean, in my book, practically nothing is safe right now. Am I wrong?
I mean, I think that's absolutely right. It's in what really interested me about the Luna situation was just how quickly, regulators, how quick regulators were to really pounce on, what had happened with UST depegging and Luna ecosystem pretty much collapsing overnight. Saying that we need regulation within stablecoins. We've seen a number of links, between the British government and wanting more regulated stablecoins. Seeing that alongside Quant multi-ledger token technology. Just understanding the connections that the team really has there. I do believe that Quant is playing a major role in the regulated stablecoin space. Whether that's through their partnerships with Circle, and what they've been doing with multi-chain USDC, or whether they end up partnering with, let's say, the USDF consortium. I think it'll be interesting to see where Quant ends up, but my hunch is that they're going to be major players in the regulated stablecoin space, or otherwise use their technology to really enable that, enable a type of stablecoin and usage of this stablecoin that is safe for people that will bring in more money into the space.
I'm really curious. You brought up USDC, MLT, Center, Circle. Can you elaborate a bit on that? Because you appear to know what is going on there, and I think it's from what I've seen interesting, but I'm not really sure how to Eli 5 it. Maybe you can have a stab at that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I mean, Ghost had done a lot of the legwork here, so I give credit where it's due. You know, I'm just a lurker in Couch Chill. I'm just a guy who loves DAOs and who loves Quant. But in terms of explaining Circle and, you know, what our involvement is there, you know, there are a number of messages, you know, within Couch Chill. Let me just pull them up. Actually, if we could pause here for a little bit and just to, I'll pull that up. Thank you.
Tim. Pause. Okay, so a little break. Tried to look up the source, couldn't really find it. Don, maybe you can continue talking about how USDC is actually potentially an MLT being potentially, well.
Right. So, I mean, with USDC, you know, they are live on a number of different blockchains, and, you know, they have the ability to switch natively in between them, and they use APIs, you know, for this technology. So, you know, when I saw that, you know, my ears perked up. You know, that absolutely sounds like, you know, Quant involvement to me, especially because, you know, USDC is, you know, really pushing this for enterprise as well. You know, I do think that with the number of enterprises and institutions that are investigating, you know, what it would be like to incorporate stablecoins, you know, into their holdings, into their daily goings on, you know, into their business. Yeah. You know, and reaping the rewards of, you know, instant settlement, you know, being able to do business globally, and just avoiding a lot of the frictions that the current financial system offers. You know, getting ahead in the stablecoin race, I think, is really important. And you know, Quant, I think Quant will be a major player at that table. You know, because of the ability to seamlessly interoperate between different networks, and also, you know, link to the legacy tech stacks of these institutions. Yeah. It's unmatched. It is unmatched in terms of capabilities provided.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's like the holy grail. I mean, in the pre-CBDC landscape, for lack of a better word, I think, the one who brings a stable coin to institutions on multi-chain is the one that rules the world. I think it's if USDC can get the reputation and Quant has the tech and the right companies are backing it, and I'm thinking maybe some of the bigger credit card companies, I'm not sure if they already are doing business with USDC. But then it's obviously, I mean, everybody wants to get on that train from what I can see, and everybody is kind of right now still in the dark. Maybe it's a little bit twilight by now, looking for a way to do it. And obviously you can create your own coin or your own token or whatever you want to call it, but that also requires you to make other choices. You need to choose a chain, you need to choose the regulations, you need to assign devs and all those things. And if you can actually just use the, maybe, I hope, infamous USDC, infamous for being regulated from the get-go, and that being MLT, yeah, that'd be obviously a first mover advantage that is unprecedented, at least until everybody is a little more comfortable. Everybody wants to create their own stuff, but that's maybe also a while away. What do you think, Tim or Don?
Well, I mean, it's going to be a journey, you know, I think, to ultimately get to CBDCs. You know, we've seen that, you know, a number of a number of governments are going to be taking at least the next few years, if not, several years to, undergo or to undertake doing pilot studies and feasibility studies, things like that. A lot of projects building on a lot of the work that's already been done. I think in the short to medium term, the focus is obviously going to be on, what privately available stablecoins out there can provide can work with regulation enough to provide a bit of a backstop or at least some way to carry out crypto business safely, understanding that the value of your USDC is going to match a dollar. With algorithmic stablecoins, there a lot of those promises have been found to be empty. So looking at a fully backed or mostly backed stablecoin, I think is that's going to be the focus. I think for regulators. So something like Tether, I don't think has a place in, or at least the way that Tether currently is, with their relative lack of reporting. Sure, they have attestations, but there's always some really suspect stuff going on between them and Bitfinex. I think Quamfy had done a number of really good videos breaking down a lot of the concerns around Tether and what exactly they're really backed by, because they have a ton of commercial paper that's backing them that we don't know where it's coming from, like what the quality of that debt is, and by extension what the quality of Tether is. So so that's out for me. USDC, and I saw USDF as well. There were a number of commercial banks that are allying together to create a fully backed stablecoin that can be used, with these banks. That's absolutely super ambitious, and also almost unthinkable, just a few years ago.
Yeah. But they as well. I mean, the banks themselves, among themselves, are also burdened by the shitty Swift system. And I'm not going to pretend that I know all the nooks and crannies of that, but I do know that the wire transfer and Swift stuff and what it costs, and I know it's two different things, but the costs and the time and the oh yeah, that's such an interesting thing. Maybe you can tell something about it. I know this is a little bit of XRP territory, but Nostro Vostro accounts is actually where trillions are being held until everything is settled on both ends or something like that. I mean, that's one of the big arguments for XRP being used. But by basic knowledge, I'd say that a USDC MLT would be eminently qualified to fill the gap and to empty those Nostro Vostro accounts.
Well, I think that and I'm not branding myself as an XRP expert here either, but I think that their value proposition is that they're really like they're currency agnostic. I can see a system where USDC or some US dollar backed cryptocurrency could be the foundation for a regional kind of interbank system. But the argument of XRP is that, well, this is kind of it's country agnostic. It's the value really comes from its own utility. I haven't strayed very far into XRP territory, just mostly because of the tokenomics. I think whatever kind of value they're going to provide, there are just way too many tokens out there, for these like $10, $100, $1,000.
Well, the hypothesis is that if there are so few tokens that if it replaces all the money, that if it has to perform that task, then the price needs to be like, what was that, 589 or something? I'm not trying to take the piss, but there's obviously also math on their end for XRP being scarce to a degree. Now, but I was curious about, because USDC, MLT, the blockchain stuff, it solves a lot of time problems, and time is money.
Yes.
So I was curious, or I was actually trying to make an argument and curious about your opinion on this, that the banks are actually very, very motivated to get a solution like the instant transfers, what quote unquote we have in crypto, simply because time is money, and a lot of their money is just parked for sometimes 5 business days, 7 business days, 10 business days in
Yes.
those in those accounts, simply because either end is still gathering signatures. It's like when you're having your birthday, you're going to all the teachers from all different classes to get a sticker or something like that. That's kind of how the financial system is right now.
I like that. I like that analogy.
Yeah.
A lot. You know,
They're in a hurry. That's my thesis, at least.
Well, I mean, I think that it's the nuance is that there's certain, I think that banks are certainly looking at this, you know, in the medium to long term, but just looking at how
what is medium term? Because you said short term earlier. Is short term, is that how many months, years?
Very fair question. So like I'm thinking in terms of like a couple of years here.
Short term.
For like medium term. Short term, I think, which is, you know, kind of right now, and where we are for like the near future, is that banks see a lot of the frictions that are in the current financial system as, you know, relatively beneficial. You know, for example, like you keep money in a bank, the bank is able to, you know, make some money loaning it out or otherwise using it, and they pay you, you know, minus some spread. Right. So like those, so frictions like that, you know, are you know, what a lot of them live off of. But you know, again, what I think we're going to end up seeing, just because the benefit, the economic benefits of unlocking a lot of the liquidity that is kind of trapped by these frictions that we've spoken about, are going to be so vast that, you know, the more forward-thinking financial institutions that are willing to embrace this technology, I think, are going to be very glad that they capitalized on it.
There's an interesting duality there, isn't it? Because you're indeed right. And on one hand, they don't want the money velocity to go up. I don't know if that's the right term, but they want us to have our money sit there and forget about it in a way, so they can pay us nothing and they can earn money by lending it out to other people. But on the other hand, they have like their own cash and assets that are, well, not moving around fast enough, and are being trapped, like you said. But then on the other end of the spectrum, so with maybe other banks or other partners, so there's duality, that on one end they wanted to go quicker, and on the other end they wanted to go slower.
Well, you know, they certainly want to have their cake and eat it too, which has led to some interesting. It's led to an interesting environment, at least like right in terms of regulation and lobbying. You know, here in the U.S., you know, you have a number of I would say relatively more forward-thinking, you know, senators. And then you have folks like Elizabeth Warren, who, you know, have been linked to Wall Street banks and has been notoriously anti-crypto. So I think that financial institutions are still kind of coming to grips, I think, with crypto, and, you know, with the level of disruption that I think that is ultimately coming. You know, again, it will in my mind be the more forward-thinking folks that embraced what this technology has to offer, that are going to ultimately come out of this relatively tumultuous period much better off. You know, and I think that I think the same thing applies to you know, crypto investors as well. You know, if you are looking at utility driven projects that solve real world problems at scale and have the tokenomics to support it, then, you know, it's a matter of when rather than if, the way that I see it.
I see you're not thinking.
Yeah.
Just pondering on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I am, and I'm also kind of blanking. I don't know why.
We can transition to the DAO and stuff. We kind of went on a bit of a
true.
a macro event, but it's always interesting to talk about this stuff.
No, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking. I'm no expert on stablecoins by any means, and US Terra proved that I have no clue what's going on. Yeah, well, I mean, it is interesting though, and I think. Oh, I see, Jarno. You wanted to say something?
Yes, I was thinking about what question I wanted to ask. I wanted to ask about LangChain, because you say CBDCs are coming sooner or later, and all that stuff. And we talked about USDC, and we're talking about USDC being backed, that are being unbacked, and then we gonna have the LATAM CBDC, so Latin American CBDC, Latin American dollar. It's going to be 12 countries at least, and it's going to be coming in 2023. It's been confirmed by Gilbert multiple times now. I think it's safe to say we'll most likely at least begin as a pilot or something like that. It's probably not full-fledged adoption, but it's going to be there. And I'm curious because Gilbert also said multiple times that it will be used to settle between the United States, North America, and South America. Since it's apparently pretty difficult to get stablecoin regulated and stuff and backed, and that's pretty important. How do you think they are going to do that? And they being Latin America. And what I mean with how are they going to do it is, will they go with algorithmic, or they go with fully backed, partially backed? How are they going to get 12 countries aligned? And now the question is big enough already.
That's an absolute beast of a question, you know, and one that will be really interesting to, you know, take a look at as, you know, we see LangChain roll out live. My thought is that the actual backing of, you know, whatever multi-ledger currency, you know, ultimately comes out of this, whatever the name is, you know, whether it's the Latin American dollar or whatever it may be. I think it's going to be relatively easier to back it with dollars, you know, because a lot of these Latin American countries have pre-existing relationships with the United States. You know, I'm assuming that if this Latin American dollar is going to be ultimately convertible into US dollars, that there is some sort of involvement on the US side. At the very least, they're looking very intently at, you know, what a regional DLN looks like, what some of the, you know, pitfalls.
So a distributed ledger network, right? DLN.
Yes. Distributed ledger network. So basically putting together a number of DLT networks that are national, but, you know, having it as more of a regional
so
base point of reference. Yes.
Yeah. So the Netherlands, in this case, part of Europe. The Netherlands will have a bunch of DLTs, and that will become the Dutch DLN, and that will connect to EFSI, which is like a big network of all different DLNs, right?
Yep, that's exactly right.
Okay.
So what is that going to look like? I think that it's ultimately going to be backed, whether it's fully backed or partially backed. That's the outstanding question for me. How do we execute fractional reserve banking, if at all, in this new, DLT driven environment? I think that'll be an interesting question to answer. My initial hunch is that, it would be fully backed enough to withstand a reasonable sized bank run. I also wonder, whether they'll actually make it impossible for there to be a bank run, just by having programmable money. I remember there was reference to like using LackChain for emergency payments or for stimulus payments that are meant to be spent on food or something. So like if the system is under stress and like undergoing bank runs, I wonder whether suspending the convertibility that way, top down, would be what they would do in a bank run situation. But again, all of that is to be confirmed once we get a look at LackChain Live.
Yeah, what makes it really difficult for me to comprehend, besides the fact that I have no education in that field whatsoever, is that from what I know about South America, is that there's a lot of wealthier countries and a lot of poor countries, and I can imagine that a couple of those, there's probably a lot of inequality between what every country brings to the table. So if you're gonna create a single coin or token or currency, and you want that to be fully backed, how are you gonna do that? And if you're like you're saying now, I mean, there's a bank run coming, how will that distribution end up? And I think there are so many intricacies that would make it hella difficult to do that properly and to have that properly backed. And yeah, it's just,
it makes it all the more impressive that the Quant team is going to be rolling this out in 2023.
exactly.
LackChain is going to be a real moment of reckoning, I think, for the entire crypto space. It should be. Seeing like at institutional / world scale, this is what multi-ledger technology can look like.
All eyes will be on South America in 2023 for sure, because if that will work, that will be like the English. If they're
they'd be the start of a revolution.
Yeah,
I think like all of these countries that aren't already linked to legacy banking systems or have their populations largely connected to legacy infrastructure, that is going to be a huge spring pad or launch pad for that. So after South America, I feel like Africa is going to end up being a very interesting. I think that we're going to see a lot of very interesting case studies about DLT in Africa, especially if and when LackChain turns out to be a success.
Yeah, and SAT, obviously, you called it ODAP earlier. From what I gathered from Count Chill, is it now called SAT, the Secure Asset Transfer Protocol, and no longer ODAP? You need to change your handle, ODAP Don.
I do now, yeah.
Yeah, it's I can try and look it up for a bit. I like a real quick screen share. Hold on, let me do this right so I don't throw up all my nudes on the internet.
I mean, in the meantime, I'll fill the gap with just an observation. I mean, I have no technical knowledge of how those stablecoins work. But
we are very poorly educated for running a podcast like this, Tim. I just noticed.
Yeah, but what did you say?
We are
We are?
poorly educated.
I mean,
for running a podcast like this.
Are we though? I mean, we are discussing concepts and
Yeah.
well, products that haven't even been launched in the market yet. The only thing that people know right now as a stablecoin is
Yeah.
stuff like Terra,
Yeah.
and their association with it is, oh, it's like one big Ponzi scheme, right? It will collapse. That is the only affiliation that people have with stablecoins. That they are unreliable, or on the other hand, their association is that they think of CBDCs, which are well, part of the government, like the big government that wants to track everything you do, and that are the only two forms of association people have. In the meantime, we are just diving into all the technical stuff, and I think in the meantime, now being 2022, I think we're just in a stage of, okay, we have accepted. All the institutions have accepted that this is the future, and they're just slowly building. And in the past few years, we actually had the first announcements of it. So you have this mini boom, right? That everyone is announcing stuff, and now it's kind of silent. Institutions are just building. That's my observation.
It's that saying, what do you do when you see Indians? Be careful. What do you do when you don't see any Indians? Be twice as careful.
Yeah.
Well.
Anyways, we're looking at a screen share of Jarno.
Yeah, no, it's not a screen share of me. It's the Secure Asset Transfer Protocol draft-00 by Thomas Harjano.
Oh, it's
if you want to email him, it's harjano@mit.edu. And this is from Friday, May 27th, 2022. And it reads, folks, here is a link to the new version of ODAP, now called the Secure Asset Transfer Protocol. There's an HTTP address. We'll put that in the description. I am also working on updating the SAT architecture draft, and we'll be posting it soon. Best, Thomas, which is really cool. And the credit for sharing this to me was Dennis K from the Dutch group. We already had these snippets that you see right here. We'll just see
stuff like this that you just shared feels like the very beginning of Bitcoin, like the Bitcoin forum. That's what it reminds me of. Like nobody knows what's going on, except
I think that's exactly where we are. I think that's exactly where we are in Quant's life cycle. You know, there was a really long period. You know, people talk about like, oh, you know, the early Bitcoiners, like, you know, you could have made like so much money just buying like, you know, $100 Bitcoin. There was absolutely zero guarantee that that Bitcoin was going to become, you know, globally significant in the way that it is now. And, you know, like we have our convictions because, you know, of what we've learned, you know, about QNT as a project, how it fits into the evolution of the internet and things like that. But largely, we're still at this point of information asymmetry, where again there are fewer than 50,000 holders of Quant. You know, then you think about the number of people that are invested in the crypto space in general. You think about the number of people that of crypto investors that, you know, care about interoperability. You know, a lot of those numbers are still way smaller than, you know, quite frankly, what they should be.
Yeah, it's a quarter of a billion people in crypto right now, something like that, right? 250 million?
Yeah, I think that sounds right. I mean, it's an under $2 trillion asset class, you know, despite the number of people that, you know, are involved. And, you know, what as impressive as it has been, you know, for mostly retail, but institutions have certainly gotten involved by this point as well. But not in huge volumes like what I anticipate.
Raoul Pell said that like other asset classes are in general between 150 and 300 trillion.
Yes, exactly. Those are the exact points of comparison that you know I would look to for the crypto market over the next 15 years.
Yeah, so if crypto is going to become an asset class like real estate, like precious metals, whatever, it should end up on in between the 150 to like 300 trillion market cap, but saying that that's not the same market cap as it is for companies, because we obviously evaluate crypto differently, I think. But it's going to be interesting, and I think the bottom line is we're so fucking early.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, absolutely agree on that. You know, so just to distill, you know, my macro thoughts into a sentence, we are still so early. You know, I think that yes, we are likely to see some more turbulence, but those moments of turbulence are only going to create you know, better and better opportunities to load up on Quant for when this information asymmetry eventually comes to an end. And I think that starts with LAC chain, when people are really going to see what Quant can do at scale. That's going to open a lot of people's eyes, and I think it's going to make the folks that are able to weather this more bearish time, they are going to be handsomely rewarded for doing so, I believe.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, it's just a matter of information asymmetry. That's what it all comes down to. You have us. We are pretty well informed, and then you have most people who don't even know the difference between us and Atom, for example.
But it's not for a lack of information being available.
No,
it's a lack of information being understood. There's still so many, you know, crypto skeptics, I think, in the halls of institutions, as much as, you know, they've turned around. You know, we don't have, you know, DLT evangelicals, you know, yet.
Yeah.
And I think that will change. Partially because, you know, again, the benefits of DLT technology are massive, and also, you know, we could very well get to the point where the financial system necessitates large scale change and large scale adoption of DLT technology. We could very well get there. You know, I don't want to, you know, pull off too many alarm bells or anything like that, but you know, I think that very often crises are used as opportunities to foster great change, and we certainly could be in store for that. That is what I've.
If you want real progress, start a war. We would not have been technologically where we are right now without World War II. No fucking way. No way. Ever. Yeah. And there's a bunch of other examples as well. I mean, innovation goes in hyperdrive in times of war, and arguably the COVID situation, whatever you may think of COVID, was in a way wartime. I mean, the entire world was in a panic. Most of the world was in lockdowns. Governments were at least trying to act for whatever reason they had, and they had to communicate, and they had to do stuff. And then a lot of cracks in the system appeared, I think, and we're still seeing those right now, with backlogs in the logistics, and people having doubts on money, and God knows what more. It's I mean, but we argued a couple of episodes back, one of the biggest things to solve is identity. I think Gilbert also said that in, I think it was the LCX interview, I'm not really sure. But if you can solve that, if you can make sure that everybody that you meet online for legit purposes is who they say they are without actually knowing who they are, then you can make even bigger leaps and steps. And it's the same what you see now with you may hate it, but the COVID passports. You can see if someone is vaccinated. You don't have to know his name, his address, and all that other stuff. Just does this correspond with that? And It's aching towards the zero knowledge proof kind of stuff. That's the right term. So everything is accelerating. Everything is in that case advancing quicker, thanks to that situation.
But we are in war times at the moment, right? I mean, this is a time of war, even though it's peace here in Europe and in the US. But technically, the world economy is in war mode.
Yes, the effects of globalization are really being rolled back. We are seeing a tightening of borders. We're seeing increasing export and import controls. Countries are moving more in the direction of self-sufficiency, rather than open cooperation.
You say
especially as it pertains to food security. I wouldn't want to get too far down the rabbit hole of potential macro headwinds, except to say that there are a decent number of them, but conditions will eventually normalize. Value will rise to the top again, and I think that really the best long-term bet is to see what has outsized growth opportunities for me and for us. That's crypto and that's quant.
Yeah.
And in a way, we spoke in the introduction. It's peacetime for us. Well, maybe it's wartime, arguably, but right now we're in a quote-unquote bear market, meaning that there's not much interest in risk-on assets. By the way, something came through my Telegram feed today. I'm not going to be naming names and stuff, but people, please be fucking careful. There are still scammers out there, and they're getting smarter and smarter. And if you are not 100% sure, whatever the link is you've been sent, don't click the link. It'll probably trickle down in the community, but people have been scammed last couple of days by some new thing. Even people that are in the community for a long time, that are knowledgeable of this space. So I wanted to put that out there. I mean, we know that back when it was full bull run, there were airdrops galore and free money offered to you on the regular. Right now, it's peacetime, and you don't see it as much anymore. But when you don't see any Indians, be twice as careful. You can get wiped out.
I love how you
with a click on the link.
I love how you swap around peacetime and a bear. Just how you call a bear market a peacetime.
It is peacetime.
I mean,
it is peacetime. Everybody's sitting on their thumbs. Nobody's doing shit.
Okay, yeah. I would.
It's certainly a quieter time. It's certainly a quieter time. I do think that times like this are really good to focus on what it is that you want to build. Just generally reorienting your priorities, getting out of like a manic headspace or a mania-driven headspace. And ultimately build the foundations for the next bull run. The last few years, being in the markets has been extremely, let's say, educational. I've learned a lot of like what to do and what not to do. With bear markets like this, and as long as we survive, then we'll be on track. Then we'll be on track to thrive, I think.
Yeah, and we are obviously here to talk about the DAO.
Wait, we will go there, but one thing, like, how do you even? Sorry, Don, we will enter the DAO.
Of course.
Yeah, but how do you get scammed? Come on, how? I mean, every time a scammer hits me, I'm just trolling them. I start trolling them. I'm like, I'm interested. Show me the money. How are we going to do it? I want to be part of your special operation.
And then you make a mistake, and you think you're gonna type, and they just posted a link, and you fucking fat fingered the link, And now you
Come
have
on.
ransomware or malware on your phone, and you are not aware.
I just always troll them and tell them to buy QNT.
Yeah, I understand. I did that too, but I can imagine.
I mean, it only has to happen once, right?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah, true. That's absolutely true.
you make one mistake and it has, you know, real consequences.
Yeah, absolutely. You can fat finger and you should also limit the your settings on Telegram. Don't let random people add you to groups and stuff. That happened to me in the past. I switched around my settings, so it's very hard to message me now or really learn my lessons.
Absolutely. I mean,
be careful.
I would just say, like, for anybody who gets a message that looks a little bit suspicious, just know that, you know, nobody here and, you know, nobody in the community would go out of their way to message you first, much less, you know, about, you know, a giveaway or anything like that. We do have some giveaways that you know, I can talk about that will be official, but they're not coming out via they're not coming out in Telegram DMs. No. That's for damn sure.
No, and they get announced in the official channels. People don't DM you. Please don't be so stupid. And be aware of those links. Don't fat finger.
Hi, handsome. You in crypto?
Yeah.
You invest this token in?
Yeah, but whenever I get the chance, I just troll them. I've had this entire conversation with a Dutch-speaking scammer last week, and I got another guy from the Dutch chat, and we just swapped around roles. So I was shilling them QNT. I thought they were telling me to do something. I was like, no, I can get a better investment return when I do it this way. Okay, talking about building, talking about the bear market, let's talk about the DAO. I think this is the time to go there, because I have no clue what you guys have been doing, and I would really like to know, actually.
Yeah. Well, before I'm gonna hand it to Don. I did some googling, and the famous Wikipedia helped me out. Link will be in the description. And there was actually an organization called the DAO, and I'm gonna read a little bit from that, and then we're gonna go to the latest.
The juice. Yeah.
And then we're gonna have Don make it more quant related. So the DAO, an organization. The DAO, with a stylized D, was a decentralized autonomous organization and a form of investor-directed venture capital fund. It was one of the most extensive crowdfunding campaigns in history after launching in April 2016 via a token sale. And it became one of the largest crowdfunding campaigns in history. The DAO had an objective to provide a new decentralized business model for organizing both commercial and non-profit enterprises. It was instantiated on the Ethereum blockchain and had no conventional management structure or board of directors. The code of the DAO is open source. In June 2016, users exploited a vulnerability in the DAO code to enable them to siphon off 1/3 of the DAO's funds to a subsidiary account. The Ethereum community controversially decided to hard fork the Ethereum blockchain to restore approximately all funds to the original contract. This split the Ethereum blockchain into 2 branches, each with its own cryptocurrency, where the original unforked blockchain continued as Ethereum Classic. By September 2016, the value token of the DAO, known by the moniker DAO, was delisted from major cryptocurrency exchanges such as Poloniex and Kraken, and had in effect become defunct. So we now also know the origin story of Ethereum Classic, which I found really interesting. So the DAO was also a rug pull in the beginning. This is going to be interesting because the funds were siphoned from the Ethereum blockchain, and I know for a fact that our current DAO also has some money management system that Don is going to enlighten us up in a bit. But before we go there, we're going to have the decentralized autonomous organization, also on Wikipedia, link in the description, and this explains the more general DAO. And it reads: a decentralized autonomous organization DAO, that's DAO, sometimes called a decentralized autonomous corporation, is an organization constructed by rules and coded as a computer program that is often transparent, controlled by the organization's members, and not influenced by a central government. In other words, they are member-owned communities without centralized leadership. A DAO's financial transaction records and program rules are maintained on a blockchain. The precise legal status of this type of business organization is unclear. A well-known example intended for venture capital funding was the DAO, which amassed 3.6 million ETH, Ethereum's mining reward, then worth more than $70 million in May 2016, was hacked and drained of 50 million in cryptocurrency weeks later. Hack was reversed following weeks, hard fork, Ethereum, most blah, blah, blah. Okay, so they had 3.6 million ETH. Interesting. So yeah, that's the DAO according to Wiki. And since, Don, how long is the DAO been kind of in existence?
So we've been running, for the last several months, really getting our start, really like toward the beginning of this year. I'm just, one of, a few people who have taken up the work of kind of guiding the DAO. There were a number of early contributors, Ghost among them, who had gotten our Commonwealth page started, who had set us up on Snapshot, which is what we use for governance. And sorry
for interrupting. Let's take it back a little bit, because
Sure.
why are we having a DAO for Quant? Because Quant is a token. We are merely token holders. We have no rights, no equity, nothing. The company owes us nothing. That's like the entire point. The company is private. Quant Network is not a public company. It's a private company. It's owned by Gilbert. It's about friends of his, and that's technically it. So what is the goal of the DAO? Why would we create a decentralized autonomous organization? To what end? We own the token. Token's going to make us all millionaires at least. So why would we want? Everybody wants to retire. Why create an entirely decentralized organization that's gonna require us to do more and not less?
I feel like there are a few ways to kind of to attack that question, and there are like a few sub questions hidden there. So I'm going to try to hit on all of it. In terms of why would I want to get involved with something like this? I just love the project and everything that it stands for. What Quant is going to do, to evolve our financial system and the internet, is just something that speaks to me. So clearly that. I and others, that are involved in the DAO, find that rewarding in and of itself. In terms of what the DAO's goals are and why it makes sense, to really have a DAO, really what we want to do is a few things. First is to educate folks in and outside of the community about Quant's value proposition. I think that we even touched on this earlier today, where understanding all of the specific nuances is quite a task. It's extremely difficult to do, and that has created a bit of a barrier that makes it harder to attract new token holders. So I think that putting together easily accessible forms of media, that's something that we're really looking to do. And then, our second goal beyond education is really engagement. Working with the community to understand, what is it that excites them about Quant. What kinds of possibilities can we really unlock? You know, we'll get to Quamfy Summer, and I think the second week of that, you know, focusing on mDapps, you know, really hit that there. So we'll talk about that, and then lastly, and this is more of a future state goal, but what we aim to do with the DAO is to really demonstrate the capabilities of Overledger and their technology. So once gateways are operational, you know, we want to establish a DAO gateway and allow folks to you know, to stake with us and to use the proceeds from the DAO gateway to incubate mDapps and to generally just bolster the community. You know, having a community controlled and owned treasury, you know, I think we'll do a lot to support the decentralization of the network. So just getting back to the purpose behind community gateways, you know, that is to, you know, process hashes and to further decentralize the network. So
it isn't to make me rich.
that's just a fun.
I thought they created that so I could get wealthy. No, sorry.
Oh, no worries. I mean, like, I think that aspect of it is certainly, you know, really exciting. And, you know, if and when that happens, then, you know, I could go full time into the DAO, which would be honestly a dream come true. You know, but one thing that I think, you know, folks that really only care about, oh, well, you know, token price go up, I'm going to get rich. Like, the reason why that will happen is because of, you know, all of these problems that Quant as a company and as a network are going to solve. So, you know, just keeping appreciation of the tech and the underlying fundamentals front of mind has really formed a focus, you know, for me and then for the DAO as well.
I think, sorry for interrupting him, but I think that is indeed the largest part of the information asymmetry that we're talking about. XRP simply wants to be money, same as Bitcoin, and we made this point on the show before. For understanding QNT, Quant Network, SAT in this case, or previously ODAP, all those things, the entire value proposition, it requires more than a single infographic, and that's obviously what you just tried to explain, that the DAO is going to do, is we're going to make all that information more accessible and more understandable in Eli 5, so that even the people that aren't well, let's call us geeks for argument's sake, can still get an understanding of what is going on and why things take as long as they do or as short as they do, and why things are as complicated or as difficult or as easy or as profitable as they are.
I mean, it all comes down to you know, what we can get the average person and the average crypto investor to understand. You know, that is going to be, you know, the real benchmark behind you know, what the benchmark behind, you know, how we go about, you know, education and engagement. That's going to be a metric that, you know, we look at and you know, try to understand, okay, in the broader, you know, context of like, oh, you know, there are new holders that are coming to Quant every week. How many of them are really, you know, coming because of what the DAO is able to provide? That is going to be huge for us in the short and medium term. You know, until we get the DAO gateway and the incubator, you know, up and running. I think now is really education, engagement, and foundation building. Those are the three priorities for us right now.
Yeah. So what is like the main thing that you guys are setting up right now? Because is the DAO already up and running? If I want to join, can I join? What does it look like?
That's a great question. So we do have a Telegram group that we can put in the YouTube description, and then also for Telegram, but it is called QNT Community DAO. And we'll have all of the requisite links and stuff as an addendum to this.
I have it in the description.
But to answer your question, yes, you are able to join. You know, we do hold meetings relatively often, and you know, folks are free to join and to participate and to make suggestions, and you know, we listen to and read everything that we get from our community. So the door is absolutely open, you know, for folks who want to participate. I mean, at this point, we're even, you know, finalizing our slate of admins. So, you know, I think that the door is still absolutely open for folks who want to contribute, who believe in the mission of Quant, and who want to ultimately make it a larger part of, you know, what it is that they do.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of questions. I actually asked people on Instagram to ask question, and they did, but I cannot find the because yeah, I cannot find the picture. I took a screenshot, but I can't find it. But anyway,
if it comes up, I'm more than happy to answer.
Sure, yeah, questions. That's the reason you see me looking at my phone. I'm just trying to find it. Anyways, and so if I kind of summarize it correctly, so the entire project is still in its orientating stage, right? I mean, you guys started somewhere November, October last year, I think, or beginning of 2022.
Yeah, or late 2021.
Late 2021. Yeah.
And so yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it. You know, we're still very much in a maturation stage. You know, it's funny that you brought up like what are, you know, some of the legal considerations behind the DAO. You know, that's been something that I've been digging into quite a bit with Lex DAO, which is a DAO, you know, composed of lawyers that are, you know, helping folks with the legal side of you know, blockchain related problems. And you know, one of the things that they have is, you know, a checklist and a process for DAOs to be legally incorporated as their own entity. And you know, I think that with what we're looking to do, we are ultimately going to get to that stage. So, you know, right now is just the time where, you know, we get smart on, you know, what move we want to make next, you know, how to guide the maturation process, and, you know, making the DAO as strong structurally as we can, you know, ahead of gateway releases, whenever that may be. So we're kind of working with an unknown there. The fortunate and unfortunate thing is that, you know, I think that there's going to be more than enough stuff for us to focus on and to work on, regardless of when, you know, gateways come out, just so that we're ready.
Yeah. So if I understand it correctly, it's you guys are kind of working on a white paper or something. So kind of a forming document that you can use as a future roadmap for where it needs to go. Is that what I'm hearing here? That you guys are kind of
so for we have the Quamfy Summer initiative that's been going on for the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And you know, part of that initiative is going to be, you know, teasing some new developments for the DAO as it relates to, you know, our maturation. and we're gonna have like a lot more. We're gonna have a lot more to share, on those points, as Quamfy Summer goes on. But what I will say is that over that like 10-week period, we're gonna have a clearly defined roadmap, and I'm trying to think of the English phrase for this, for modo de proceder, like way of doing things. Our modus operandi.
Yeah,
Not English, but that's what I mean.
Yeah. No. I have a question, because how things are going to be done. And I know the answer to this, but I'm curious to your answer. Is how does the decision making take place in a DAO?
That's a great question. So we do have we have Snapshot up and running, and that's a governance platform where folks can submit proposals, and then we vote on it. The voting structure that we've taken on at this moment, I believe, is it's quadratic voting with a 100 QNT cap. So like what that means.
Wasn't that up to
2,000? To 1,000.
Yeah.
I said 100. I meant 1,000. But yeah, basically what that means is that the amount of voting power that each wallet gets is proportional to the square root of the amount of quant that you put up. So you have QNT in a wallet that you obviously like don't lose possession of, but you put it up as for your vote, and then we take the collective voting power behind all of the different options, and then kind of proceed from there. That's how we handle major decisions.
Yeah.
And any kind of smaller stuff in terms of day to day, like the admins that are working more consistently with the DAO, then we kind of have some liberties, and that's mostly a function of how early we are structurally, just needing to get things done and being nimble. But as we grow, then I certainly anticipate that our governance structure will evolve, and like what it is that we ultimately vote on will change as well. This actually links back to what you had mentioned before about decentralized identity. One thing that I'm really excited about of following more closely is reputation-based forms of governance that are ultimately built on decentralized IDs. Yeah. So having a structure where your participation in a given community gives you greater say within that community, like that's what we've tried to approximate, with the QNT with the QNT cap and the quadratic voting system. That's what we've tried to approximate, just based on what's available.
While you're there now, I want to elaborate on that for a bit, because I participated in the voting and connecting a wallet, and my initial sentiment and feeling when I started, I thought it was really scary, because I wanted to participate, I wanted to vote, and then I needed to interact with a web app or a dApp, if you will, and that's pretty scary, because you need to sign for a certain permission, and it's kind of like a leap of faith, because you cannot see the underlying code. And I can understand that a lot of people were really apprehensive to participate. I believe in the end only, like I say only, but 10 people voted, something like that, and there was a very large difference between the wallet sizes. There was somebody with 40k QNT, and there were people with 10, 20 QNT, sometimes fewer or less, whatever is correct. And and that eventually showed to me how important the quadratic voting is, because if you don't have that, then somebody with 40k QNT has 40k votes, while somebody with, and I say this without any whatever, but with only 10 QNT has only 10 votes. And with that quadratic voting ability, it just normalizes everything to a certain degree. But people that do have the 40k that were obviously really early, and since they were really early and they're still here, they're also dedicated and committed to the project. So they have, in my book at least, earned a little bit more voting rights. And obviously it's not for everybody. I mean, if somebody wants to buy 40k tokens now, it's a lot of money, and 9 months ago it was a fuck ton of money. So the quadratic voting makes everything a lot more fair, but I do think that it's going to be really hard to get less knowledgeable people to participate in that. Also, because of my warning earlier with scams and connecting wallets to websites is scary. Keeping them connected is even worse. Always disconnect your wallets. But all those hygiene things, I'm not sure if people are quite ready. I think that's the point that I wanted to make. And I'm curious, after this enormous book of shit that I just told, if you want to respond to any of these topics and tell us your perspective on this.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think you've hit on a number of, what a lot of, the early concerns that I had kind of going into discussions about our governance structure and how we want to handle voting. I think you made a very good point that, a lot of the folks with larger QNT balances also happen to be, earlier and more active folks in the community. So, making sure that those folks had a voice was definitely something that, I wanted to be mindful of, when I was making, these proposals. But there is absolutely an imperfection in that, the voices of those with smaller token holdings needs to be accounted for also, which was why I thought that the cap of 1,000 quant, or it was originally 100, but then we kind of voted on that and made it 1,000. It's trying to balance those two underlying forces. The fact that we want the most active community members to have the greatest voice, or to have the loudest voice. Oh yeah, here's the snapshot proposal. There's Snapshot. Yeah, I mean, talking about Snapshot, I think that the reputation that they have in terms of providing sleek voting infrastructure for different DAOs really speaks for itself. I can understand that there's apprehension about connecting, a wallet, signing transactions, things like that. But in terms of DAO governance, Snapshot is just one of those names that you hear out there as someone who's trusted, and they've certainly done the work, I think, to earn the trust of the quant community DAO. Whether we migrate to another system is certainly that we could vote on that as well. We listen to any and all major proposals that are done in good faith and trying to improve the DAO, move us forward, things like that. I would say for interacting with Snapshot, you know, or really with any you know, web app, if you're going to be connecting your wallet to something, you know, you want, ideally you use a clean wallet, so something that hasn't had, you know, a ton of transactions on it already. Like I would recommend against you know, using your main wallet for just like any MetaMask stuff, basically, because of what Jarno had mentioned earlier about running into bad contracts, things like that. Again, I don't think that's a risk on Snapshot, but it's good to, you know, just generally practice good crypto hygiene and just look out for your money, because you're really the only one that's doing it.
There is an obligation to that on my end, Don, and then we're going to move on, because I understand it's not perfect yet. I mean, this whole, let's call it web almost 3. It's, let's say you have wallets dedicated to your long-term, I'm never going to fucking ever touch it stack unless the world's on fire and I need it. Let's say that's the majority of your stack, and you do want to contribute to the DAO because you believe in it and you want to participate, and you also want the most voting rights. Then in that case, you need to open up or engage with that deep freeze wallet. So you go into the woods with your compass or your GPS, and you look up where you hit your ledger. Then you start digging, and then you get it out, and then you need to send tokens, in your example, to a fresh wallet, because you don't want to use that wallet, or you're going to use that wallet that you initially chose for it, but that wallet is known as to being someone from the DAO, and then you're talking on a podcast and you accidentally dox yourself, and now you know all that stuff.
Yep.
It makes it really, really complicated, and it's, I know, I understand it's the only way, and I do feel, I mean, like I said, I engage with this, and it's really interactive, and it's as real time as it can get, and people get on board, and people that are actually contributing are going to monitor it while things are active, and they're gonna contribute, and the voting thing was done, and the quadratic voting cap was upped by a 10x due to the voting, which means in a way it works, which is awesome. But yeah, there's 29 members here. I mean, I'm on the website right now for the people on podcast, and that can see this. I'll put the link to the snapshot.org #QNT DAO.eth in the description. But what you can see here is a pretty simple user interface. You can see a logo, you see the Quant DAO, you can see the amount of members. You can click join if you want. Underneath there is proposals, new proposal, and about. There's some links. In this case, only one to Twitter is active. You can connect a wallet. And then you see on a column all the closed votes. The last one being implement capped quadratic voting with 1000 QNT cap. And then there's a very nice description and a way to vote. And you can see the wallets that have voted and the amount of QNT that they own. And what happens is you connect your wallet. If you have that behind a ledger, you need to authorize that with your ledger. You need to sign that transaction also with your ledger. And then it gets verified, and you can vote in percentages, yes or no. So you can choose 100% yay or 50% yay, or whatever you wanna do, and then it's legitimized, and that's kind of what Don hinted to at maybe like reputation, or at least a form of identity. That's implemented here. Did I explain this in a little bit of a respectful way, Don?
Yeah, I think that your characterization of it is fair. You know, that's pretty much how Snapshot has been working. I would say that, you know, what we've been doing has kind of necessitated more back-end work from, you know, myself and some of the other admins. So, you know, we've been kind of taking the lead just from an organization standpoint, but you know, as Quamfy Summer Quamfy Summer progresses, and you know, we finalize more about the DAO, then we're going. I think we're going to start seeing more proposals going up and everything. So
member count will go up as well.
Yeah,
I do think a piece of feedback, and then I'm gonna knock it off with this, is educate people on this, the nooks and crannies, the risks, the safety, etc. If you want to keep using this, because obviously what we did right now was some people took the plunge, but I think if we want to grow this should also definitely be on the how to educate the community to-do list, if that makes sense.
Wholeheartedly agree. Everyone should be able to use our platform, our platforms, and participate in our governance. I absolutely agree.
Another word I heard when we spoke a while back was Gnosis or Gnosis, pronounced perhaps wrong.
Gnosis. Oh, Gnosis safe. Yes. So that is how we custody DAO's assets. Now I'll put a wallet address in. I'll send that across so that we can have that like accompanying the video as well. You know, for any folks who want to donate to the DAO. But basically, it's a multi-sig safe. What that means is that, you know, you have multiple stakeholders that each control a set of keys, and you know, a certain number of those stakeholders all need to provide their keys in order to initiate any movement of funds. At this point, you know, what we're trying to do is operate as leanly as possible, and you know, we've largely been able to do that just through you know, direct contributions from, you know, folks in the admins, you know, myself and others. But you know, we also have been mindful that as the DAO grows and as we, you know, need more funds to accomplish what it is we want to do, that, you know, having something like this is going to be crucial. So the way that we have our Gnosis safe set up, we have a couple of admin wallets that control it right now. You know, once we start getting and holding on to significant sums of money, then we're going to open up a number of seats as well to a rotating band of community members that are voted on, and then we also have, I believe, a wallet or two that would be held by the Quant team at a future state. You know, we definitely can see opportunities for the community DAO to work with the Quant team. You know, yes, I absolutely think so. I mean, you know, I've had conversations and connections with some of the team members, including their comms head, you know, and talking to, you know, some other insiders about this stuff. And you know, I think that it's certainly exciting to think about now, but we have to do the structural work first.
Yes.
We have to formalize, I think, a lot more, you know, before we start approaching the team and working proactively with them. Just being mindful of everything that, you know, they have on their plates, wanting to make sure that, you know, any time that we do take with them is used productively. So
yeah, because I do think that part and that was obviously on my list of questions, is where we can actually gain some traction in the community at large, is if we can make clear to them, okay, listen, if we get this show on the road, and this show has at least a little bit of a framework going, a little bit of a reputation going, then we can start interacting and engaging with the team, and from then you can probably see people joining, and then you can go to the tech side of things. But I do think that people are interested in the DAO. I was, at least in the beginning, especially because it looked like that was the biggest chance to get a seat at the table. Maybe that's the wrong word, because it wouldn't necessarily work that way. But I feel that having a DAO and doing it right aligns very well with the agenda of Quant Network and Gilbert in particular, for decentralization and for having the quote-unquote community create their mDapps for them, because that's what Gilbert always kind of wanted, is we build the platform and you build all the good stuff on top. We're curious to see what you can build, and the DAO is eminently qualified to provide that, especially if you can get the OG admins to motivate the community. I mean, the community has a wealth of knowledge and creativity that can be utilized, I think, at least.
Absolutely. I think that the amount of just human capital that the quant community has at its disposal is absolutely remarkable. And part of the goals behind the DAO, and part of what I personally wanted to accomplish with the DAO was to really unite the community behind something aspirational and achievable.
Something more than the price.
Yes, absolutely. Because there's so much more. There's so much more to this community than what you get from just the price. And a lot of that deeper understanding and that deeper work is ultimately necessary, for the price to ultimately change. And
symbiosis.
Say again?
A symbiosis.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just getting mDapp developers, getting folks to contribute to the DAO gateway. Having real folks to evangelize. And to have a clear, concise message of why quant is valuable is going to bolster what we can do as a community quite a bit. Not that doesn't even touch on what we can accomplish if we are in contact / working with or in concert with the quant team. All of this, I think is ultimately meant to provide an aspirational direction for our community that is formed on something deep and formed on something substantive, and formed on us creating things of substance to ultimately bolster the quant ecosystem. So
yeah.
Yeah, those are really the main goals for the DAO.
And I mean, we have been talking about what it is, what kind of the idea behind it is, but when DAO, when roadmap. So sorry. So how would you view the roadmap? What is kind of the idea of rolling this out? Obviously, we are currently kind of orientating and building the fundamentals. What is kind of in the pipeline now? What can we realistically expect?
That's a great question, and that ultimately comes back to what we're putting on now with Quamfy Summer. This was an initiative originally designed by Hungarian and I believe Greg Lunt as well, both of whom I believe have been on Quamfy Show. Give them a shout out. But what we can expect is there will be a number of giveaways. We do have some QNT marked set aside for community competitions, just around like creating content and creating media to help bolster engagement, things like that. And while all of that is going on, we are working on formalizing a lot more about the DAO, that legal framework that I had mentioned with LexDAO is going to be a near-term priority for us. Then what else? I'm just looking through to make sure that I didn't miss anything in the notes. Oh yes, and by the end of Quamfy Summer, we do expect to have a more fully fleshed roadmap.
Nice.
One thing that I will say is that obviously we won't be able to time around community gateway releases and things like that, because hey, when it comes to when gateways, we in the DAO know as much as anybody. So that's like one kind of challenging thing from a planning perspective. But there's more than enough for us to work on to get the DAO ready for when those gateways ultimately become available and we can run them. So so that just means there's a lot to look forward to over the course of the summer. And I would say keep an eye out on Twitter, keep an eye out on Telegram. We're pretty busy, and we're looking forward to sharing the fruits of our labor with the community. So again, very, very excited about all that.
I have a question. You said something earlier about the Gnosis safe, and that you said that there was a wallet where people can donate to.
Yes.
What is the overhead of the DAO? What is the reason you need donations? And what is the transparency, etc., regarding those costs?
That's a great question. So in terms of overhead, there's not really a whole lot at this point. Like a lot of the time that the admins have put in, myself and the admins have put in, has been largely pro bono or free. In terms of what types of expenses we could expect, if and when we go down the route of fully incorporating, that's going to require getting lawyers. It's going to require probably working with LexDAO in a closer capacity, and there will be some type of charge for that. Whether it's we don't have this problem with Snapshot right now, but if we were to move to another governance platform that is completely on chain, then then folks would have to pay to vote. That's something that we've tried to avoid and have successfully avoided up to this point. But that could be another source. That could be another source of overhead. Giveaways as well. Up to this point, we've largely bootstrapped the DAO, but the more that we have at our disposal in the treasury, the more we're going to be able to get done in the pre-gateway era. You know, once gateways come out, you know, we've been thinking a lot about underlying like tokenomics for a potential governance token, and having that related to the DAO gateways transaction revenue, you know, their earnings and whatnot. So that would be a more sustainable form of revenue versus like donations, but it would obviously come with later stage. So I guess for right now, you know, we're just trying to operate as leanly as possible, but you know, any and all contributions, you know, do help and do bolster our capabilities. In terms of transparency, I know that was a question you guys brought up too.
Yep.
You know, the Gnosis safe address, I'll actually also provide for an addendum to to append to this video. But you know, it's just like any other wallet address. You can see exactly what transactions are done when, you know, how much we pay for certain things, you know, what mDapps we use, like all that stuff. And you know, I feel like this almost goes without saying, but you know, but just to say it, you know, any major financial decisions we'd also vote on as a community as well, you know, to make sure that we have broader community approval for what it is that we are looking to do. So I guess another way to answer the question of, you know, what do we do with donations? You know, how do we address certain costs? You know, that's also community driven. So
nice, man. Nice. Yeah, really cool stuff. I've been really excited ever since the first day I heard about this, and yeah, really cool. I'm also really curious to see in the future. Granted, being if the Quamfy show is still around, however we can contribute and what we can contribute, I think we should definitely look at that and discuss that. I'm just throwing that out there. I haven't discussed it with Tim, but so I think would be really open to that at least.
Yeah.
You and me both. You know, I think that you guys do a lot of really great work, especially on the education and the engagement side of things. You know, what you guys have done with Quamfy show, just making everything a little bit more accessible for folks is, you know, you're fighting the good fight, and you know, I think that we could do a lot of great work together in the context of the DAO. So we'd be more than happy to have those conversations, and you know, who knows, maybe we'll have a round two, another episode. I could do I'll do a face reveal or something.
yeah, no, definitely. And I think
amazing.
this is just a prime example of how early we are, and sure, Quant has been around since 2018, so we're not in the first years, kind of far still, but all the community initiatives are just picking up, and this is so recent. I've been building for like half a year, like 6 months. We are so early with everything, and we should not underestimate that, right? We're just discussing stuff for the future at the moment without we don't really realize what will happen.
It's the same with the wallet count. We have a max, we think of 50K holders.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit more if you take into account all the exchanges and stuff, but that's a really small pool to fish in to build a DAO and stuff. So it's like you said, man, it's fucking early.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
And
better,
you know, actually,
better
one more thing that I do want to add on, you know, now that you mentioned it, in terms of like fundraising and stuff, you know, we have been pretty actively looking, you know, for other you know, sources of funding as well. You know, we think that there is certainly an opportunity within institutional or within institutional finance to gain some supporters and as a source of funding. We're pretty actively exploring that. Understanding that there are only so many QNT holders, and there's also it's really a couple things. One, there's only so many QNT holders. Two, there's still quite a bit of institutional interest in the crypto space. Andreessen Horowitz, for example, had raised what was it, hold on. Yeah, they raised what, 9 billion? Or no, 4.5. They raised 4.5 billion. They raised 9 earlier in the year, but they're still raising billions of dollars from VCs and whatnot. And I think that the value proposition for Quant is going to be pretty unique for the A16Zs of the world and for some of the big money. So that's just something that we've been looking intently at as well as a source of funding and to really just evangelize Quant to a much bigger audience. There are the Alpha Sigma Capitals of the world who have gotten in early on QNT, but still a much wider range to kind of play in, I think. So that's something that I'm really excited about. And as we get developments, then we'll obviously share them. But I just want to be transparent about some stuff that we're looking at. So
interesting, man. Good plans, especially as Tim pointed out, since everything is so young. And yeah, I'm curious to see how far along the DAO will come before the next influx of, let's call them, new investors will begin. I mean, if we look at September last year, when somebody apparently pulled the pin on something, the influx of new holders was ridiculous. I mean, we last week or a couple of weeks back, we looked into Quamfy Lounge from a year ago. I believe we were at 17K holders last year, May. And now we're at 50, so that's exponential growth if I've ever seen it. And the next explosion is going to dwarf the last one. So yeah, it's
actually we were around 35K already by September. So it doubled between May and September, and then it kind of slowed down after
and then
that.
it died off because of everybody losing money. Interesting.
Well, it is dying off, but it's still we still grow.
Yeah,
we grow every single day, but it just boomed between June and September.
Yeah, so it'd be really nice, as like I said in the beginning, in this peacetime, we can get at least some foundations going, and that we can kind of divert people that are coming in to the high quality educational resources. Difficult words.
You need to do your research in this market. You cannot blindly invest hoping for the best.
Of course you can. Most people do.
I mean,
you can if it's Quant. That's pretty much what I did at the beginning. I didn't know anything about interoperability, but I heard a Jarno voice clip that just made me ape it all in. So
yeah,
that is actually what happened, by the way. I do have to credit you for being a really huge part of my early quant journey. So
yeah, that's right. You told me. I appreciate that. It's scary. Well, at least one of the success stories ish.
Well, you know what? We'll see. We will see.
Yeah.
I mean, just I do feel like extremely thankful for all the folks that that got me into quant at the beginning, and I think that like a lot of my efforts for the DAO are really just motivated by trying to pay it forward and see if I can have a similar impact on another new holder that could potentially change their life investing in this absolutely ridiculous technology.
Yeah, pay it forward. I love that term. It's really, I think it's really American. It was a campaign, wasn't it, in the halfway 20th century? I don't know, but the pay it forward movement. Do something for somebody else and help somebody out, and then you say you paid for it, and then somebody else helps. So I'm probably butchering the story. Don, please.
No, that's pretty much right. I mean, the first that I had heard of the concept was like there was like somebody at a coffee shop, I think like paid for the person behind them, and then the person that got their coffee paid for, they paid for the coffee for the person behind them, like that kind of thing. Like in our context, it would just be like getting people up to speed on quant and just illuminating folks on what an incredible investment opportunity it is. Just things like that. I feel like my life would be completely different. My life would be completely different without quant. It'd probably still be just chasing a bunch of shit coins on the internet and whatnot. Now I'm not chasing. So
yeah, I agree, man. I'd probably be still wage caging and being sad, bitching, crying, complaining, trying to make it in stocks. Oh
yeah. Oh man. Yeah. That. I mean, we could be in for a lost decade in stocks. Like part of what I think is going to happen is that you have bonds that are mostly underwater, with inflation. You have stocks that potentially entering a lost decade just because there's not all this money being pumped into the system, quantitative expansion anymore. So you could see like huge movements over to digital assets and the crypto space, just because like we mentioned before, $2 trillion asset class versus hundreds of trillions. So like there are a few things that need to happen before we get there, mostly in terms of like regulation, but I can see the writing on the wall. I think that we'll have to wait to see it play out, but I think it will play out.
Yeah, I think the stock market might indeed enter a completely different era. I mean, let's face it, the 2010s have just been like stonks only go up, and that's basically what happened. We'll have to see how that goes for this decade. I think it will be a bit more troublesome. On the other hand, stocks always do go up on the long term, but not as exponentially as they did the past 10 years.
Yeah, companies will increase in value. Oh, well, we'll see, man. But at least freaking QNT is just off the starting block, if at all, and most people aren't even aware.
We are still under Luna, I guess, even with the new Luna that launched.
Yeah,
Luna
but they
2.0.
right now have a circulating supply of how many? The new Luna.
Yeah.
I don't know. The old Luna has like trillions in tokens now.
Yeah, I don't know. Can we have a look at that? Or do you guys don't want to go there? I mean, we're kind of entering the part of the episode where we kind of start just looking at
let's just look at it really quick.
If you're up for it, Don. I'm not sure how much time you have left.
What, to talk Luna 2.0?
I mean, just in general, like we're just always we've had the serious part of the episode. Now we're just
going. Is this the one, Terra Luna? Is this the one?
I think, yeah.
It looks like it's on fire, so that's about right.
Oh wow.
The logo.
Shall we buy the green candles?
Yeah, so it was like 20.
It's a bit like the quant short.
Don't do that. But yeah, it seems like it's let's see, the fully diluted market cap right now is 9.6 billion. The market cap is 1.9 billion right now. It has a volume of $337,483,703. And the self-recorded circulating supply of Luna is 210 billion. And the max supply
10
is
billion. Wow.
is 100,000 million, 1 billion. What? This is so weird. Because am I fucking my zeros up? Help me out here. Because this is 100,000. So this is a million. This is a billion. So this is 1 billion supply. But this is then, oh, I fucked my zeros up. So this is 210 million is circulating. So that's 20% of this. I choked on these two zeros here.
Yeah. Disaster, people, to stay away from this. That's my only advice.
Yeah, no, it's the American system. We use commas here, and they use full stops here and commas here. So that's why I saw this full stop and I counted this is 3 zeros. Never mind, I'm an idiot. So 20% circulating, and the volume is 340 million. The fuck.
Hey, I got a question for you guys. Or do we want to look at Luna? I mean, it was fascinating what happened over the weekend. Like we saw Luna being launched. It pumped straight to like $30 or something, and then it nuked all the way back. I think it pumped from like 50 cents to $30, and then it nuked back to like $5 or something. And a lot of people lost their money.
Jesus, welcome to crypto.
What you see here, right?
Yeah.
It launched and it was like 19. Yeah, and then it hit a low of 4. And now it's slowly recovering. Volume spikes. You can imagine how many people have been selling on this volume here.
Yep.
Trying to get out. I mean,
at that point in the chart, it looks pretty grisly. And, like, I think Luna's biggest problem is, after the original fiasco. I mean, like, how do you even gain people's trust after that? I guess it's been enough. Like, all of that just indicates to me how still early we all are.
There was this meme. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. Let me undox this a bit. Let me open this up. Yeah, I don't like sharing all my chats. Here it is. In 2009, Bernie Madoff lost investors $60 billion. He was sentenced to 150 years in prison. In 2022, Do Kwon lost investors $60 billion after Luna collapsed to zero. He then created Luna 2.0. Yeah, that's crypto right now. I laughed about this pretty hard, but it's pretty fucking sad, because if you look at this, this happens a lot.
He looks like such a smug douchebag, the Do Kwon guy.
I mean, he was talking like just a few days before Luna collapsed, like, oh, it's fun to watch some protocols die.
Yeah.
How that came to,
he made a bet for somebody that he would personally see die. And I think on something else, he made a bet for $20 million. No, let's make it 200 million on Twitter.
Yeah, I think that was with Algod trading, I think.
I don't know, but it's crazy even that a person that had a company like that and actually lost people fuck tons of money can do the same thing again. Even if this is no guys, this time I'm doing it right. I promise, pinky swear, I promise this time I'm doing it right. I'm sorry about the last one. I'm sorry. Mea culpa. Won't happen again. Sorry. And apparently that's enough.
It's enough for people to gain trust and still be higher ranked than
It's
an actual
okay.
company, but actual utility. It's insane. I think
Yeah.
that's the absolute state of the market. And we, over the weekend, we had this small discussion between me, Jarno, and some others. I was grumpy as hell this weekend. And I just said, well, like, I cannot imagine crypto maturing in the next couple of years. I just don't see it happening. And also for Luna now, as long as we don't have any regulation, as long as regulators are not stepping in, we will be in this degenerate casino. I think that's the absolute state of the market, and that it will work both ways. It will work downwards and upwards, so it can also grant us extreme opportunities. But as long as regulation is not here, we will keep seeing this.
The only thing that I would disagree with there is the timing of regulation. You know, I mean, we're seeing that DLT technology is something of interest for, you know, enterprises to ultimately use. You know, I think that there is this period, and it's still kind of going on, of education, you know, for regulators to understand just how the technology works, you know, and how to create effective policy that can guide development without being overly heavy-handed. You know, but I think it's a priority. It's a point of emphasis. It's necessary, I think, for countries to remain economic and stay economically competitive. So, you know, with what we're already seeing on stablecoins, like that, I think will be a precursor to larger scale regulation of the industry, which I think is going to lead to a K-shaped recovery, you know, where a certain number of players are going to be pretty well positioned for that. So yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say is that I think that maturity is coming, you know, and it's going to take more pain, I think, before we finish maturing. You know, like if Tether were to unwind and the crypto market were to start, you know, divorcing itself from Tether, which we've already started seeing, you know, with stablecoin outflows and whatnot. You know, that could be the next, you know, big near term scare, you know, and like, for anybody who says that, like, oh, that's ridiculous, like Tether is such and such billions of dollars, they're you know, such and such market cap, like I point you to Luna. Like,
yeah,
it's I find it inevitable almost that this market is going to mature. This market is going to be brought under some sort of regulatory regime so that enterprises and then people, average people, can feel more comfortable.
Yeah, that's what needed.
I mean, it will mature, but regulators are slow, and as long as regulations don't
We need to start making Quamfy Show videos for regulators. We need to get the politicians on and need to make Quamfy Show episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the solution.
Yeah, but even then, they are still binded by like bureaucracy. It will take a good couple of years, even with their best intentions. Government is slow. Government is terribly.
I think a couple of years is about right. I think a couple of years is right, but I can't imagine it takes, you know, significantly longer than that. Just because, you know, China's already released the CBDC. I think that was really the gun starting for CBDC development, and you know, now a lot of other countries are kind of getting caught with their pants down, and you know, I think that there's going to be a motivation to kind of scramble to get the next viable, useful, done right CBDC.
Yeah, I think the time path that most people have in mind, at least most knowledgeable people, like 2025, 2030. Like if you ask Son, for example, he always says 2025 at the earliest. That's when
we don't know what's
expect,
happening
actually.
behind the scenes, and we do not know what is happening. Well, I mean, how far along they are, and on what topics. I can just imagine, like, but I think that was Gregor Hungarian that said that what happens in the background. I mean, for the wholesale side of things, that's pretty easy. They can just do whatever the fuck they want. Technically, that's what we hinted at the beginning with the MLT USDC kind of thing. If they want to use that as a synthetic CBDC, they could technically do that and just implement that and just throw that around among themselves and use that as a trial and then build from there. Maybe they're even doing that right now. I mean, Gilbert's been at this regulation standards and stuff for even longer than Quant exists. So I don't think it's new. I just don't think it's on the public agenda very much. But there are people writing up drafts for sure. For sure. I cannot imagine with everything that is going on, especially after the Luna debacle now, that there are not people thinking, writing, contemplating, discussing. And like we said, LACchain and also in China, the world's going to be looking and they'll be taking notes. And the countries like the African countries, as Don said, they can leapfrog. They can just copy paste, put on some cell towers for GSM, 5G, and start rocking that shit.
And
yeah, they can make their mistakes, and the EU can then just learn from that.
Yeah, true. But even then, like the Latin American dollar is expected to go in production in 2023. So
Exactly.
we need patience, and it will come. In the meantime, I just anticipate this casino. Talking about the casino, I have questions from Instagram. If we can move there.
Cool. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, there are not a lot of questions though. Bear in mind. But yeah, there is one question. Okay.
Is it Greg?
No, no. The question is, what is the difference between QNT and Link? And that's our only question. Oh, we have a second one. We can address that one too. So what is the difference? Yeah, sorry. We don't have any quality questions anymore. I'm sorry for that. But what is the difference between QNT and Link? So Quant Network versus Chainlink. How would you guys define that?
You fucking kidding? No, okay. Don, would you take a stab at this? That'd be
sorry, that's a literal question.
Yeah.
This is what people want to know.
I think it's important. I think it's important to be able to view Quant in the lens of other projects that are out there that one could argue. I mean, one could argue that Chainlink is a competitor in ways to Quant. I don't think that the scope is quite as large or as fleshed out. But what Chainlink ultimately does as an oracle is bring real world data into a form that blockchain can understand, and then using that, you get your price feeds. You can use that to create smart contracts that are driven by real world data, and things like that. Whereas with Quant, you're directly connecting not only to legacy infrastructure that can provide those data sources, but you're also interconnecting blockchains or DLTs as well. So just I think in terms of the ultimate scope, what Quant is trying to accomplish is much broader. And I mean, sure, you can make the argument, oh, well, the cross-chain CCIP, it's like cross-chain, like is an interoperability protocol. I don't know what the I is in there. Off the top of my head.
But it doesn't even exist yet.
It does not exist. Yeah, I mean, well, that's another main difference. One is theory versus.
It's an idea on a Not even
On a
piece of
whiteboard.
paper. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about this before, right? We showed the video clip. The link team doesn't even know what CCIP is going to look like. It's such a joke if you think about it, how far ahead we are. I don't even regard Chainlink as a competitor.
No, so
And
for
then-
interoperability, Chainlink, in my opinion, is not a competitor at all. They are probably very qualified for providing the data that they do through their Oracle stuff, but it's I think that's about it. I do not believe that Chainlink will be the infrastructure for the blockchain and Latin American dollar of a continent. It's just
No.
sorry, it will not be the infrastructure for a continent-wide CBDC.
No.
I simply do not see it. I also do not see how they could provide the interoperability at the level that Quant does for, say, CNET, which is the biggest payment network in Europe at this moment.
Yeah.
I simply do not see Chainlink do that. And even if they do, if they could, how do the tokenomics reward you, the investor? Because that's eventually what it all boils down to. I do not think that there are people on the Instagram asking questions because they love the tech. Because if they love the tech, they wouldn't ask the questions. They want price appreciation. If you want price appreciation, you do not want a token that is more than 50% owned by the company and that are dumping it on your faces every time the price bumps. I do not think that is very healthy. I'm also not really sure what the link token does on chain or for the functionality of the network. I do know for the Quant token, it's indispensable. Shit doesn't work without the token. And I don't know if customers of Chainlink need to own and hold Chainlink tokens, because if they do, then that's a serious problem, because tokens are a liability. For Quant, everything's paid in QNT. In fiat, and the treasury converts to QNT, meaning that customers do not have to own QNT if they don't want to, because QNT will also be a volatile asset. Thank God. So that's just my take on things. I think they're not even addressing the same market. I don't think they're addressing. They're having the same tokenomics. I think it's all hopium on the linkies side of things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we do have another question though, and it's like, does QNT have any ties to the International Monetary Fund, the IMF?
Oof. Yeah.
There was that Gemini description, I believe. I don't remember where that came from though.
I think there is some kind of tie, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I'm googling account show right now. Oh man, there's so much. I don't even know how many hundred hits on IMF. IMF MLT.
I think the IMF might have.
Oh, I
go
have
ahead.
it. I can screen share here. Let me just get on my
Go ahead.
Just undox this window.
Yes. Hide maybe your toolbar if you want to.
Yeah, whatever. So yes, IMF. Yeah, for example, Quant's MLT technology is leveraged by the IMF for use with CBDCs that are sent to and from and operate on many distinct blockchain and legacy-based platforms.
Yes.
Now let's see what's. Oh, that's it. I thought that they were gonna have like, oh, here's the source, but it's just a glossary.
Yeah, but yeah, oh yeah, on Gemini was that? Yeah, of course.
What do you guys think of what we've seen from the website so far, by the way? Speaking of glossary, just like I think it's interesting how they're putting a lot of like blockchain related lingo and details, you know, in a form that financial institutions can like understand. It seems to me like they're really setting the foundation for some like serious enterprise usage, which I find incredibly exciting.
I agree. And we looked at those glossaries, previous episodes. What I find most interesting right now on the current website, and I brought this up right here, is the FAQ. And have you seen this, Don?
No, this is this is new for me. So
yeah, so this is the FAQ, frequently asked questions, and there are a bunch of questions here. One is, who is Quant? Well, we can answer that. How deep does the interoperability of Quant over Ledger DLT gateway go? That's already a hint at the DLT gateways, that they are actually a thing, because some people start having doubts for some dumb reason. And then they explain this pretty adequately, talking about dApps and mDapps. Then they're talking about the scalability. How scalable is it? They're talking about over-ledger DLT gateway allows the interoperation of any type of data, state changes, smart contracts, IDs. Interesting. Digital assets, fungible, non-fungible between ledgers. Provides enterprise developers with what Quant calls universal interoperability, inspired by the TCP/IP model. Then you can see something about mDapps. I'm gonna go a little bit lower. How scalable? How many DLTs does Quant over-ledger DLT gateway support? So they captured that here. You can see that it supports the Enterprise 5 being Fabric, Corda, Ethereum, Quorum, XRP. And it supports Bitcoin Constellation, EOS, Stellar, IOTA, and Binance. It can interoperate legacy systems. How does it maintain decentralization? And then they go into the over-ledger network and that they work with gateways. And then they're talking about, where is it? Hey, there was a whole thing on community gateways also. Sorry, let me see.
What is a Quant?
Over-ledger remote connection.
Oh baby,
gateway.
There we go.
You want me to read this? It reads, what is a Quant's over-ledger remote connector gateway? Over-ledger remote connector gateways are hosted by over-ledger network participants and act as a portal for safe interaction with other network participants. Remote connector gateways allow hosts to share access to their DLT nodes with over-ledger DLT gateways. There are two types of remote connector gateways, RCGs, enterprise gateways, and community gateways. Community gateways provide access to the permissionless blockchains supported by Overledger. Their hosts can create nodes for one or more public ledgers and participate in the network. Enterprise remote connector gateways are used to connect safely to private and permissioned DLTs, which are part of the network. They enable enterprises to decentralize safely and to eliminate the risk of opening their network to thousands of peer-to-peer connections, as they can connect any API. Over-the-edge remote connector gateways can also host non-DLT based services and charge users accordingly. I remember where I saw this. Let me see. If you go to because they have an entire part on, I only checked this on mobile, so I'm kind of lost right now. Our technology over-ledger network for community. They have a whole page for this. Secure by design, open by nature. They're talking about ODAP here, REST APIs. And then you got this comparison sheet, which is I've
never seen this actually. This is the first time I'm seeing this.
Really?
I remember when that one, oh yeah, that image up there with the laptop. I remember when that image started circulating, and it was like, oh, what DLTs are
Yeah,
you know, are
yeah.
being used there. Like that was
Fiat Chrysler and etc.
yeah, that was exciting. And again, just goes to show like what kind of involvement is really happening like behind the scenes. You know, we only really get a little bit of breadcrumbs, you know, as QNT holders and
Yes.
but that, I mean, that's part of what makes it fun, at least for me. Like,
Yeah, and
like
this,
seeing
by
all
the
these little.
sorry for interrupting. This also answers the questions on will token be needed, and are gateways still a thing? What are be community gateways? What will community Overledger do? What will Overledger network themselves do? So it's all on their website. But yeah, if that is not a burden of proof you subscribe to, I don't know what to say. I can't help you. I mean, if you do a little bit of searching, even on this iteration of the website, you can find whatever you want. Here, look at this stuff on Seek, multi-DOT search and analysis. There's all these things. There's even, I found some other day. I'm gonna quit this. There's even I found you can ask for quotes depending on how big your company is. Even small companies with one dev or one whatever, you can just hit them up and just email them if you want to ask questions. It's all pretty interactive. And sorry, Don, I interrupted. And can you still remember what you wanted to say?
No, you're good. I mean, I was just saying that. Well, I'm going to be honest. I don't quite remember what the train of thought was, but it was like it was along those lines. You know, just basically saying that there's such a plethora of information that we have available, and it's really a matter of like distilling it and just getting it into a form that that people can wrap their heads around. Because you know, as much as we love Quant, like it is mind bending. How much there really is going on just with the stuff that we do know, let alone what is yet to be revealed.
Yeah. What we know is just a speck compared to what we do not know, and that is again super fucking bullish. It's the people that buy in now, the people that are holding right now.
Yeah, it really brings us back to the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, you're so early.
Yes.
The information asymmetry.
Yeah.
Guys, is there anything we would like to add? Has anything happened? Last week. I don't really think so, right? We did not get an update. We are still waiting for the website. And it's also Monday, so a lot of stuff can happen, and then our listeners will hear it on Friday. So it might be that I'm completely wrong.
Yeah, but our stuff
we'll
is
have to see what happens this week.
Our stuff is pretty timeless in general, usually.
True.
Most of
Yeah, absolutely. But we didn't cover any news from this week. We're still waiting for the website. We're still waiting for the update that was scheduled to be there last Thursday. It might have released by the time you're listening this. It will probably have released.
Yeah, throw it in the comments. Do us a solid.
Yeah. So, any last things? Because I mean,
no, just Don. Thank you for being here, man, and indulging my questions, my interruptions, and taking the time to be here at this. I don't know. Is it an unholy hour there? I keep forgetting time zones. No, man, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate everything you do for the community, and with the DAO and everything in general. I think you're a really stand-up guy, and love what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Make sure that if we can ever do anything for you or the DAO or anything like that for the community, do not hesitate to reach out, and we'd love to have you here again.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, thank you for having me on. You know, I think again, what you guys do in terms of education and engagement with Quamfy Show is absolutely incredible. I feel blessed and honored to make my small contribution to that for today's episode. And what the last thing that I would say is join the DAO. We'll have all the links available, for you to join and to get a look at what we're doing. We'd love to engage with you, hear new proposals, and all of that. This DAO is really by the community and for the community. So if you're interested in helping move Quant forward, then absolutely give this a look. We'd love to have you.
Cheers.
Tim,
Absolutely.
you any last remarks or things?
Yeah, my final remark would be kind of a recognition to the Quamfy Summer initiative. Jarno and I haven't been talking about it, but great work. Sorry, I haven't been very engaged in the community, but I love it, seeing that. So
I even went over it too quickly.
Of appreciation.
Well.
Yeah, definitely. It's very good to see all the initiatives left and right, and we should be talking about it in the next episode a little bit more. Don touched upon it a couple of times, and we kind of went over it because we were focusing on the DAO, but we should definitely pay some attention, and we will do that the next episode. So thanks, Don, once again. We made this appointment a long time ago. I think it dates back from late March, beginning of April.
We've been eagerly awaiting this for a while, and finally I'm glad that the stars have aligned, and we were able to have a really great, productive discussion today.
Absolutely,
it was awesome. I'd be more than happy to come back. I can't wait to. I can't wait, for the next episode to, where I come on to be like a retrospective in terms of oh, here's what's happened with the DAO, rather than what's going on.
Really cool.
I'm looking forward to that, and seeing the proof in the pudding, because we have some incredible people working with us at the DAO that I think are going to do an incredible job bringing the vision to life.
Absolutely.
So.
I do also think that some of the our agendas are also aligned, because we also want to start creating more little snippets of content for people to consume, being videos of no longer than a couple of minutes, that just dissect simple, well, not simple, but complex topics into simple things. By zooming in a bit, so maybe we can have some little collab on that, and see if we can both benefit from.
I think our agendas are aligned in general. I mean, we're focusing on the same. Well, we're not really focusing on the same public. We are just trying to create general awareness, but we also try to raise awareness for all the initiatives in the community, which the DAO is definitely part of. So, really happy to have had you on the show. By the way, the final thing, and that's literally the end of the episode. We also have a Quant Tinder now. I'm Tindering using Quant Network, and just swiping everyone to the right. Trying to
I'm sorry, did I hear that right? Quant Tinder?
Yeah, I just made it. I was kind of tipsy last Saturday night, and I was like, hey, we could make it Quant Tinder account and just swipe everyone right. Let's see what happens.
just interoperate with other people.
Okay, I think on that
most
bombshell.
People are interoperable. Well,
on that bombshell.
Oh yeah, sure.
So everybody, thank you so much for listening, watching. Please make sure that you engage with our socials. It really helps us out a lot. And so do your comment, likey, and share thingies. Make sure to let us know what and or whom you want to see. Guy Dietrich, get wrecked, mate. Indeed.
Yeah. Is that on the Tinder?
Yeah, that's on the Tinder.
Oh yeah, swipe right on Quant Tinder, if and when you see it.
Dude. All right, Tim, I'm gonna shut this one off. Ladies and gentlemen, Quamrats, thank you very much, and we'll see you next one. Stay Quamfy.